Welcome to another episode of the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. I am your host, founder, and executive director of Voices for Voices, Justin Allen Hayes. Thank you for joining us on this episode. We're over 215 episodes at this point. We're just continuing to help to bring important topics and voices to the forefront, lifting people up in the work that they do and pointing out differences and uh, some work that is also being done that isn't uh, what we consider very, very moral, very right, ethically, however we want to classify it. So that's where we're at, and we've been getting a lot of new attention here, really in the last couple of months, from all over the world. 608 cities now. Just check the analytics. 53 countries, and then obviously one of the countries here being the United States of America. And so, thank you for joining us. Whether this is your first episode or whether you've been with us for the whole ride. Check out our catalog, subscribe, share, give us a thumbs up. All that will help us reach more people and get closer to that goal of helping 3 billion people over the course of my lifetime and beyond. Uh, so this episode here is been looking forward to this because uh, I I like to learn. I like to learn. I said that twice. But really, just like to learn and hear about kind of new methods, new ways of doing things, and that's what this episode is going to be about. So we're bringing back guests we've had on several times, and this episode, our guest David Solomon is going to talk about speed writing, and so there's as we're finding with a lot of the creators that we're speaking with, everybody kind of has their maybe their own method to their madness. And one of the things that David is good at, not just the writing, but the speed in which he is able to do that, and still turn out quality work. I'm taken back to uh, growing up, and can't remember if it was first, second grade, but we used to have these timed math tests or math quizzes, and we would be getting scored not only based on how many questions we got right versus how many we got wrong, but also the time. And that's probably the first time I can cognitively remember how time was brought into kind of my life, and remember trying to not only get the highest score I could, but once that kind of stopwatch went off, you turned over the quiz. I mean, it might have been five, looking back, five easy, addition, multiplication, division, have you, answers or questions to answer, but then also the time. Uh, and looking back, everybody does things differently. Some people takes a little bit longer, some people little shorter to do that work. So talking to David of this episode about speed writing and the obviously the quality of the work, because that's important for uh, readers, for listeners, for future projects, as he uh, shares those with uh, prospective people that are interested in working with him. So, David, thank you again for joining us on the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast.
Always a blessing to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I thought we would maybe dive into kind of like kind of the tips and tricks, we'll call it, of your speed writing. How you learned that you were good at it, and how you've been able to really leverage that.
Yeah. When I was about 7 years old, I disobeyed my mom, and as any kid does.
Hmm.
And so my mom had a punishment, and that was writing Ephesians 6:1 out. And that is, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. And I would have to write that out 100 times.
Wow.
I would master it to where I got so fast, I got it done in about 10 minutes. And then
Wow.
but I faked it, and I was like, oh, it's 2 hours. And I would just sit there. And finally she caught on and she goes, okay, 1,000 times now.
Oh.
And so that's kind of where my mom picked up that I could write really fast. And of course, after I learned the Bible verse and my lessons,
Mm.
my mom went, hmm, this is kind of an interesting gift. Let's see what other people think. So I went to a man named Fred, and he's big sort of editor and writer in the writing industry. And he timed me on how fast I could write because I like to tell stories. And it's funny, I didn't believe that I could write. I just like to tell stories, act them out, draw them, but not write them. And so he gave me a pen and paper, not a computer, and said, okay, write something. I'll time you. So he timed me for about 20 minutes, and 80 pages later, his mouth just dropped. Um, my mom helped me hone the craft to write that fast. And also, what's important when you speed write is you literally are writing out a movie playing in your head. And that is so important. So you don't know what you're going to get in the end. And that's kind of fun. That's kind of the fun part of speed writing. You really don't know what you're going to get. And it's just a movie and you're just watching it and it's just another medium instead of, popping in the DVD or turning the TV on or Netflix or streaming, whatever we do these days.
Mhm.
Um, you're writing the movie that you want to watch. And when you think of it that way, it's kind of easy to do. So, like yesterday and today, like, I just plopped down on my desk in my office and got a little paper out and got a pen and hit the timer. And yesterday we were at 50 pages in 3 hours. And so, speed writing also, um, I'll go to Barnes and Noble or a Christian bookstore, and I'll look at a book and I'll go, that's cool. I can do better. And then I'll want to do better. I'm not saying I'm the best, but I want to do better than that person. And then I push it out. And back in the day, 2014 was mom's golden years of me and her as a writing duo. Oh man, there was a book every 2 weeks from a famous author, and I had a deadline. It'd be through 2 hours on that, and then switch to screenplay for a TV show, and it'd be 2 hours on that, and then I would do school.
Hmm.
And it was fun. I got a lot done. um, I think Justin, you've actually seen some of the pilots and scripts that I wrote as a
Yeah,
kid. And I
I
speed
have
wrote all of them. And so I got so fast where I go to Barnes and Noble and I also speed read. And that means I can read a page in like a minute and then basically memorize it.
photographic memory. Yeah,
Yeah. I'll let's see. You want me to read this real quick? This one is
sure.
we'll read this one. So I wrote this and I wrote this in record time. Jake was close to finding his target. He felt his blood pressure ramp up with every firm step he took in the muddy ground. He could tell they were not too far, but still a little distance away, and trying to keep up the pace in the caked mud with piles of snow made it very hard to lose his balance sometimes. He looked down on the ground and studied it with his cybernetic eye, pointing out the frequency and volume of blood they were leaving behind, which also told the story of how badly wounded they were also. So I wrote that, I put a timer on and I wrote that part in less than 20 seconds.
Wow.
And so I was like floored. And that's how you speed write. You basically go, okay, I see the scene in my head. How do I get it on paper? How do you do that? Um, the one I wrote tonight, let's get that out, is here it is. And I was just, writing for fun. Johnny walked under the pier with his diving suit on and jacket and change of dry clothes in a bag thrown over his shoulder. It was beginning to get more dark out than before, with the sun setting over the blue ocean, painting the sky a serene galore of pastels and light toned variations of purples and pinks. A more cooler wind blew from the sea, but after being in the water and working up a sweat, it felt good, with the wind blowing back his his sweat-soaked head of blonde bushy hair. After nearly 3 hours of surfing with his friends who were now taking off, Johnny needed to get out. His stomach was famished, sending clear signals through tiny rumbles it was time to think about finding something to eat. A muscle spasmed in his leg and he winced as he paused to address and rub it. The upcoming junior surfing tournament might have been to give back to the people who lost their homes in the local wildfires, but his coach still made him work harder than usual to push for a win, to push for a victory. Coach Jensen stood behind 13-year-old Johnny. Now, notice we set this scene. We're under a pier. That took 60 seconds today.
Oh, wow.
And so you're setting a scene of a movie. And when I write, when I sit down, uh, I want to make a movie. I want to set the scene. I want to let the people know what I see. I want you to imagine going to a movie theater and I want you to take your popcorn and have a ball. I want you to come out of that a better person, but also it's a visual feast. See, the joy of writing is that you don't watch TV, you have to imagine yourself there. And that's what's so powerful about writing compared to TV or visual is that you're there. Now, comic books are a little like that too, in that you imagine you're the character sometimes, and that does happen. But novels is really special because you imagine yourself as that character. And that's why first person is my favorite, because it's I did this and they did that. And that just comes easy. And so third person I really do not like writing, but I find myself writing it now. And so like when I go on Amazon or when I go to a bookstore, I'll see a book and I'll open it up and I'll memorize the way it's written, the lyrics going, he said, she said, that looked like this, the sun looked like that. And I'll memorize what worked for that author and what sounded terrible. And then I'll copy it in my own way and make it unique. I'll give you an example. Let's see, off the top of my head, Smallville. Clark moved with speed as the raindrops hit his red coat. He took a breath and felt the cold hit his lungs. He sighed. Something wasn't right. Something was wrong. And then it happened. The ground shook beneath him, his worst fears coming true. And, that's just, off the top of my head, you're setting the scene. But I took what worked from a TV show that I worked in to other novels, and you're looking at how to describe things that sound good, but you're also looking at what other people relate to. Not he said, she said, that's boring. So kick that, kill that. And so when you speed write, you just want to describe everything you can so that your audience is watching the movie and they have that visual feast so that they can be a part of the movie. I don't want to be sitting here, having a movie and not knowing what color the walls are. I want to know what color the walls are, but I don't want to know all the decorations on the wall in the room unless they matter to the story. That's up to the reader to find out. And so that's important too. Some writers get so hung up on novels that they spend 47 pages in one chapter. It doesn't work. So, like there's one writer I know, and his prologue was 35 pages.
A
Eh,
lot.
you would think a lot would have happened in 35 pages. Nothing happened in 35
Mm,
pages. He got off his horse, he killed the dragon, he ran. But we
mm.
had to spend 35 pages talking about the different sounds of the crickets and the geese and the dragon and the scales and the reflection. And sometimes that works for high fantasy. But for a reader, especially now with attention spans, you want to move the pace, you want to tell the story. Um, One thing that makes me unique that a lot of people crucify me over is I'm a screenplay writer and I'm a novel writer.
Right.
So I grew up writing movies and TV shows first. So I'm a dialogue person. A lot of people that write novels hate dialogue, and I'm the opposite.
I was just
I
going to ask you about that because we spoke to one author, and that was a pain point
yeah,
for them because they were having to now break it down, character by character, conversation, how that formats, and so for you, you really did almost like the hard part first, and then
yes,
e- eased in, I guess, in a way, not to diminish the work by any stretch, but just as far as
no,
the type.
yes. And so like when I want to create a show and then make it a novel, which is what I do, I always act it out. So I will act out the characters, the dialogue, the monologue. I'll become the character. I'll get to know the character, what they're going to wear, what their favorite food is, how are they walking, what accent do they have, do they like this person, do they like that person, what are their dislikes, you know, and then you set the mood. What does the room look like when this character walks in? Is there a fireplace? Is it raining? Is it snowing? What season are we in? And it's a visual feast when you're acting it out because you imagine everything. But then it's quite something else when you put that to paper and go, okay, well, nobody else can see what I see. So, how do I put that into words that materialize into something beautiful and complex and picturesque? And that is the beauty of what God has given me the ability to do. And screenplaying, I really excel at because you don't have to describe a lot. You can just do dialogue. You describe a little bit. But when I got into novels, I learned that, oh, it's not that different. You're just telling what's around the characters. A lot of a lot of people got hung up when I was doing Smallville and other shows. They said, "Well, you can't write a novel based on an episode." Well, why can't you? It's the same thing. I mean, I'll give you an example. Lex Luthor is walking up to Clark in the screenplay. Lex turns left, looks at Clark, and sees that he still has feelings for Lana. He's disappointed. He mouths a cuss word and then walks out. Clark goes after him and confronts him. Okay, that's the screenplay. How do you do that? It's not that much different. You know,
Yeah.
Lex stood there watching Clark. He was disappointed as he ran his hand on his bald head, reminding him of the pain that he experienced in the town he called home, in the town he called Smallville. He looked at Clark and saw Clark's piercing eyes see through his soul, haunting him like a ghost. He knew he had done wrong. He knew that he was in the wrong, and that is why he had to exit the room before something else happened, before Clark confronted him and knew the truth behind all the secrets that he veiled. Still the
Yeah.
same thing.
Same thing. Yeah.
And then dialogue, a lot of authors hold back on dialogue. I welcome dialogue. I think dialogue is beautiful and that's what makes TV. But I think what is rejectful in a lot of novels right now is we don't have dialogue. We have the action. So it's very important to have dialogue with your characters that is believable and not hogwash like some authors like to do. That's why when I'm hired as a screenplay writer to screenplay a novel, it's so hard because you don't have dialogue that makes sense. The author has all this fancy dialogue that just doesn't sound real.
Mm.
And a lot of novels have that problem. It doesn't sound real. You want the dialogue to be real. What would that character say? What would that character do? And so that's important. Um, when I write novels, I fall in love with emotion. So I always want my characters to be emotional. I always want to remind the audience that, the characters are having an emotion. And when someone is reading my work, I want them to go, wow, I feel for that character. Oh, why did that have to happen to that character? I don't want them to take a guess that that happened. I want them to know it happened. Partially why I quit the story tonight, because I stared at it and went, huh, no, that's terrible. Let's try again. What does he feel when the wind hits him? We know that his hair is wet. We know that it feels good, but what is it making him feel? Is it sending shivers through him, Does he like the cold weather? Does he get sick in the cold weather? Is it unusual to have the cold weather where he is? Is the water cold that he's surfing in? You have to ask all these questions in order to paint a picture and a story. And that's important.
Yeah. Um, while we still have a couple of minutes, I know
Yeah,
uh, writing, your experience writing songs, lyrics.
right.
How's that different, or the approach you take in that case when you're
It's really funny. I usually, when I act out, I write the song in the background.
Mm,
And so I don't know the song until it fits the character. Like the new one I'm doing for a project is I kinda wanna be more than friends. I don't know where this is gonna end. I don't know about you, but I really like you too. Can you tell me, do you feel the same way too? I want it more than friends. So that's playing in the background of these two characters eyeing each other, and they like each other, but they don't know it yet. And, they kind of want to be more than friends. That's just an example of, what do you do in that moment? Or another one is called I Ghosted You, where I literally was acting out this scene for this pilot I'm doing. And it's a scene where someone's standing over the Brooklyn Bridge and someone ghosted them. So it's I was just standing over the bridge. You said that you would be here, and now you're not. I should have looked at my phone. Now I'm caught up all alone. Now I got my emotions tied in the knot. I don't know where you went, but I think it's time for me to. Where did you go? Where did you run to? Did you get stuck along the way? So it goes on about how this person ghosted them and how they're emotional about it. And that's what plays in the pilot while they're looking at their phone. So I do my own original songs, and then I sell it to artists like One Republic, like JB, like Usher, like other people, because you're writing that for that episode or that character. So it's also called speed writing lyrics.
that's what I was going
um,
to ask you about. Yeah, if it's
Yeah,
the
they just
same.
come naturally. It's like I'm in the shower and the song comes to me, I feel this way, I feel that way, it's bam bam bam. Oh, that character feels that way. Or, I did a Wonder Woman pilot I'm most famous for that never got to see the light of day. And it's "Ooh, I don't want to see you ever again, never again." And it's Diana, and she's in her bedroom, and she met Steve Trevor, and Steve broke her heart, and so she doesn't want to see, him again. And it ends with, "If you don't want to see me, you just don't want to see me ever again. Don't leave me hanging here so dry. I feel like I just want to cry. I'm breaking down tonight. Somebody help me, light." And so she's crying, and you pan the camera, and it ends. Now we shot it, and I wrote the song. The song lives on. You've heard it on the radio, but um, it's not for that pilot. The artist took it, made a music video, did the same idea, and it works. And so music is a part of my process of creating. And I'm also an artist, so I draw what my characters wear or what they look like. I will always know he has red hair and he likes to wear blue shorts and a green top, and he doesn't like gray. I'm not one of these writers that has documents that talk about all their dislikes, I know it because I draw the character and I see it like a comic book come to life. So that's how I create.
Yeah. No, this is. I'm glad we got to the lyrics and the music part. That was what I was hoping we would get a chance to do and have you uh, do some singing because I mean really I mean, we talk about gifts and you know what people have, and it's truly you know everything around the creating, whether it's novels, whether it's screenplay, whether it's the lyrics. Uh, you definitely you know have the gifts, and I know you already know that, but for people uh, who don't and are you know still you know learning you know, the evolution of you know who you are and what exactly you do and how you do it and how it all kind of comes together. That was I'm glad we got to that point because that was what I was looking forward to the most. And you just never know what time wise. And so to know that you have kind of these layers as you're thinking about a screenplay or a novel, and you have that those lyrics playing during a scene, and so all that kind of just comes natural to you that I don't want to say you're not thinking at this point, but you've been doing it so long that uh, it it's just more about the doing and you know what do I need to do? You have the confidence. You have lots of work you've done and are doing, and I think that's key for anybody really finding out what they like, what they're good at, and then trying to find a career to be able to do those things. You know, somebody could be good at something, but if they don't like doing it, then it's not going to really come through as much was with that passion of liking what you do, being good at what you do, and then being able to pivot depending on okay, we're going to take out of this screenplay, this novel, and this song. We're going to take this song and you're going to sell it to a particular artist, and then maybe the screenplay goes through, and then the songs playing in the theater when or at the house or wherever
And that has
we live.
happened. Some famous songs in some famous movies that I wrote, and I hear that and go, "Wow, I had a part to play." And like audiences are like, "That's a cool song,"
Right.
you know?
It's so powerful, really, because you're bringing you know different senses. You're bringing you know kind of the watching and the listening, and then music, and you know no matter where we live across the world, music plays a huge part. You know, there's obviously variances depending on cultures and where people reside, but from you know, the beginning of time, some form of music, you know, hearing you know the beat in our heads or humming a beat or uh, being as advanced as you are with lyrics. I think that's something that is universal across you know humankind, human nature.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And
We
speed
got
writing,
2 minutes, just
yep,
FYI.
speed writing, creating it all stems from a lot of hard work and
Right.
from God and from God.
Of course, and that's also something for people to listen and hear that what might be easier than something else doesn't mean that it wasn't hard work. That there is a lot of hard work that goes in. So even if you're good and you like something, doesn't mean that there's not going to be hard work. There's going to be, you know, sometimes in the shower, sometimes you have a block of time set aside, but maybe you know those thoughts you at a point in time where you're like, crap, like I had this time set aside, and why couldn't that flow in at that particular time? So to know that there's going to be hard work, that it's not going to be easy, like as if we're winning the lottery, the Powerball.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, thank you for again, I mean, I say it every time, but being so transparent and going through the different layers, the screenplay, novels, music, lyrics, the process, going through speed writing, how you learned, uh, how to do it, and that's something that you do current to this day. And so if somebody's out there listening and watching, uh, it may take some time. So what you're doing and excelling at might not be something that another person per se might be picking up and able to do. It could be, or it could not. Maybe it's the lyric part versus the screenplay versus the novel. And I think going through the mechanics like you did and how it got started, with your mom and as you're growing up, and how that started to transfer into screenplays and novels, the lyrics of songs, and we just want to say thank you for joining us on this episode as you as you do, and really just sharing your talents and tools of the trade.
Thank you. I enjoyed being here. Thank you. And I hope
You're
it helps
welcome.
someone too.
Yeah, I have a hunch that it might, at least one, if not more. And so we'll give it a wrap up now. So thanks to David Solomon for joining us today. As always, giving his time, mechanics, tips, ideas, speed writing, and beyond. He was able to share with us, and then be able to grace us with some lyrics and some music. Doing acapella. So definitely grateful for that, and we're grateful for you, our viewers, our listeners, wherever you're at. Whatever corner of the world you're at, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you can subscribe, give us a thumbs up, like, share. Uh, we would definitely appreciate that. And until next time, please be a voice for you or somebody in need.